Welcome. We are going to look at examples of calculating producers and consumer surplus given the supply and demand curves. So in this session, we are going to do an example where the price is given as a function of Q both for the demand and supply equations. We will start by finding the equilibrium point. Of course, in this example, because the graphs are given, we can just read the intersection point of the graph, but let's do it algebraically anyway, and then verify it with the graph. So I have to solve the system of equations given by the demand and supply curves. Since they are both in the form P equals something in Q, I just set the two equal to each other and solve for Q. It will give me the equilibrium quantity. In this case, I have a quadratic equation, so I'm going to put it in standard form by bringing all the terms to the right. So add Q square and subtract 400. 100 minus 400 is minus 300. So the equation becomes 0 equals Q squared plus 20Q minus 300, which factors as Q plus 30 times Q minus 10. Only positive solution is Q equals 10. That's the equilibrium quantity. If you recall the formula, you see that we also need to find the equilibrium price. So let's go ahead and do that. Substitute Q naught in any of the two equations, it doesn't really matter which, and calculate P naught. If I use the demand equation, I would get 400 minus 10 squared, which is 300. If I had used the supply equation, I would have gotten 20 times Q naught plus 100. 20 times 10 plus 100, which is also 300. So that point is 10, 300. That is in fact 10. And this is 50 after 250. So 250 plus 50, which is 300. Consumer surplus is the area between the demand curve and the horizontal line through the equilibrium point. Producer surplus is the area between the supply curve and the line through the equilibrium point. We are going to find these two areas. Instead of using the formulas, you can also just read off the area integral. Since the equations are given in the form P equals something in Q, for consumer surplus, I would integrate from the left Q, which is 0, to the right Q, which is 10. The top, which is the demand curve, 400 minus Q squared, minus the bottom curve, which is P equals 300. If you use the formula, I would get the same thing. Q naught is 10, demand curve is 400 minus Q squared, the equilibrium price is 300. Now I need to simplify and integrate, which is straightforward since it's a polynomial. Combine like terms, find the antiderivative term by term using the power rule. Then take the net change. So substitute the upper limit for the integral, substitute the lower, that's 0, and if Q is 0, 100Q minus Q cubed over 3 will also be 0. And this comes out to be 2000 over 3. I'm going to get something similar for producer surplus. So integral from 0 to Q naught, in this problem it's 10, of the equilibrium price 300 minus the supply equation, which is P equals 20Q plus 100. So producer surplus is the integral from 0 to 10 of 300 minus the quantity 20Q plus 100. Distribute the negative. If the supply curve has more than one term, remember that you have to subtract every term. Combine like terms, find antiderivative term by term, find the net change. Substitute 10, substitute 0, and subtract. So the producer's surplus is 1000 monetary units.